Grace and peace to you, the members and friends of Davidson College Presbyterian Church. Wherever you are watching this video, I pray that you are safe and healthy and that you know to call the church if there is any way that we can be of assistance to you during this time of pandemic. I'm coming to you today at the beginning of the stewardship season for the year 2020. And for those of you who are not as familiar with the jargon and the language of the church, stewardship refers to our responsibility to be stewards of all the resources with which God has entrusted us. For the scriptures say that the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and we are but caretakers of all that has been given to us. And of course, at this time of year, when churches say stewardship, they most often are referring to how we take responsibility for utilizing the money that is a part of our lives. Now, some people do ask, why does the church talk about money? Well, a simple short answer is because Jesus talks about money. We know that from our recent sermon series on the Sermon on the Mount. But why did Jesus talk about money? He clearly viewed it as an important topic. I think he viewed it as an important topic because he knows that money is important to us. And in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus makes it clear that you cannot serve money and God. You have to choose, and choosing the giver over the gift is part of the path toward generosity, a path that is also the path of discipleship, a path along which we see and receive the abundance of God's blessing, the abundance of blessing enacted here at the table and embodied in so many ministries of the church and its members. Now, churches often highlight this journey towards generosity every fall during this stewardship season. We are no different. But this year we aren't going to be talking about budgets and what Davidson College Presbyterian Church needs from you. Instead, we're going to be talking about our common calling to give. Our calling to give as disciples of Jesus Christ, to give as those who know themselves blessed by the calling that we have as disciples, and to give toward the mission and ministry of Jesus Christ through this congregation. That's the focus of our stewardship season, this pathway to generosity. Now, the goal of the pathway to generosity process is for everyone to join in a spiritual journey that is grounded in gratitude, that's revealed through prayer and lived in faith. Now, some of you are well along this path towards generosity, while others might be asking, how do I start? You start and you take the next steps, at least during this month, with our stewardship prayer, asking God, where do you want me to be in my giving? Now, as you ask that question, some of you may be first-time givers. Some are intentional givers. You know the percentage of your income that you've dedicated to the ministry of God. Some of you are seeking to grow that percentage. Others might be tithers, that Old Testament concept of giving 10% of income. And still others, perhaps you're an extravagant giver, more than 10% of your income dedicated to the mission of God. Wherever you are on that pathway to generosity, that's going to be part of the conversation in the weeks to come, taking next steps, asking God, where do you want me to be in my giving? I can tell you this as we walk along this path together. The one who asked us to store up treasures in heaven, as Jesus says in the Sermon on the Mount, is the same one who calls us to recognize that in the ministries of the church, we have an embodied reflection of what those heavenly treasures look like. And this year, more than ever, we know the needs of the world to be connected to the God who created them, and to people who can share love and connection with them, and who can give of our resources so that people might not be lonely and afraid and isolated. Because this year, if we ever needed it more than ever, we know that giving and discipleship is not about buildings, although those matter. It is about the connections that God wants to foster through the ministries of the church. There'll be more about this pathway to generosity, more about our focus on God's call to us to give, more about the ways in which that giving enables others to know themselves blessed by God. There'll be more in our devotionals. We have special elements to our Sundays of worship throughout the season of stewardship here in the month of November, and it culminates on November 22nd when we will invite you to return your estimate of giving card as part of worship that day. I know I am grateful that you, as a member and friend of DCPC, are walking with me and with our leadership on a path towards generosity, and that in so doing, we are walking together the pathway of discipleship. May the Lord bless you and keep you as we journey together.